Returning now to our top story, later today, in fact, in about just over 2 hours' time, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will meet China's President Xi Jinping in Beijing. Joining me live for discussion is Kidder Williams Managing Director David Williams. Hi there, David. Great to see you. Now, you've been doing business in the Australia-China space for a long time. You've seen the peaks and troughs in the relationship and how that's affected business. Based on that, what do you make of the Albanese trip so far and what it means for business?
Well, look, it's very important because we've had a fractured relationship for such a long time, and that has definitely curtailed the amount of Chinese investment in this country, but just not the investment. It's the ability to export products out of this country into China for not only the benefit of our farmers, but more particularly for the benefit of the Chinese people. And we're now entering a new stage where food security is becoming a big issue in China, but throughout the world, but China and Southeast Asia in particular. So there's no time like the present to, sharpen up those trade relationships, especially insofar as it goes into food and agriculture. And I'm talking at one end at the sort of horticultural side. So, you can't get an avocado into China, for example, you can't get a blueberry into China. These are sort of obvious things that can be easily changed. But the bigger issues with respect to beef and red meat and so forth, these are things that are a work in progress because we're living in a big world where we're also reacting to Trump. So, if his 50% tariff on Brazilian beef takes hold, then the Brazilians are going to be dumping that beef into China, and that's going to hurt our farmers. So we need to sharpen up those relationships.
But given some of China's, shall we say, erratic practices on trade in the past few years, it's no wonder that we're a little bit reticent about Chinese investment, about doing any sort of cooperation with China. What do you make of that caution, that fear?
Well, I think the Chinese, partly rightly in my opinion, feel that the FIRB is not the FIRB, it's the CIRB, the China Investment Review Board, and even though the noise is coming out of the FRB is that they're now, loosening that up with respect to China, there's still a very strong perception that that is not being loosened up, and that is, holding us back a bit. So it's a two-way street. I don't care about how crazy they are. I mean, let's just treat this as business as usual and get some of these things happening. And I think, the Prime Minister, if he does anything over there, should be sending a very strong signal that, we're open for business and we're going to accept investment because, there's so much to be done in this country in terms of new investment in agriculture, especially in the north of Brisbane and right up to the top of Australia, the northern Australian provinces, getting that land developed. And the Chinese money is as good as anybody else's, in my opinion. So, but it's not just agriculture. The Chinese are now very interested in green energy. And so, we need to do a lot of work with respect to green steel, which is essentially having green made out of, steel made out of renewable energy, like hydrogen, like wind power, etc., or electricity generally, not burning coals. But the Chinese are very keen on investing in this country at the moment in renewables, and I put that down to, say, wind farms and in particular. And so again, with respect to foreign investment, the more of that we can encourage, the better.
But if we take back the port of Darwin, what sort of precedent does that set for Chinese investment?
Well,
will we take it back?
That would be unfortunate.
Should we take it back?
Yeah, well, I don't think we will take it back. There's a lot of loose talk, but, and if you say it quickly, gee, what would an American warship or an Australian warship coming into the port of Darwin, they'd be very worried. Listen, you can put Chinese students all around the port if you want, and they can count how many ships are coming in and how many people are on them. I don't think it's such a big deal. I probably wouldn't have done it in the first place, but it's done. And now there's others. If you really thought that was a problem, you can develop a port on the Tiwis, you can develop a port in Papua New Guinea, which they're doing in any case. But that's not a big deal for. I think it would be very unfortunate if it was taken back, and more particularly because I'm not sure it's such a big deal anymore.
So you counsel a lot of Aussie businesses when they try to sell to China. What are lessons for them when they get caught between opportunity and geopolitics, like they were a few years back?
Well, I think because we think the FRB is just too slow. If I'm a Canadian company buying an almond orchard here, I can reasonably expect that I'm going to have that approved in 4 to 6 weeks. If I'm a Chinese company doing the same thing, in my mind, I got 6 months, circle around 6 months, and you can't do investment deals with that sort of uncertainty over such a long period of time. So, what I say to a lot of clients now that are interested in coming in here as Chinese is don't even start down that track. Let's find a different way to get what you want. So, for example, Australia is now very big in radiopharmaceuticals. And, a recent example is China Grand, one of the largest pharma companies in China, bought 8% of Telex and got the distribution rights for the greater China area, China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, etc. And that really gave them all that they needed, but it also gave the share market all it needed as well. But, in a different world, China Grand might have taken the whole of Telex over. So there's other ways of cutting the cake, I think, when you get right to the nub of what it is that a Chinese investor wants. It may be that they just want to take food back to China, in which case we could do distribution deals rather than having to buy the company itself. But I think we need to allow them the flexibility to structure these things more holistically than they're doing it at the moment by trying to go around the back door or find other ways of doing business.
Are you at all worried about China as a security threat?
I'm worried about everybody as a security threat. To be honest, I'm being flippant, but no, I'm not worried at the moment about China as a security threat. We've got a great friend in the US, and China's got other fish to fry besides us. But no, I don't have any problems at all.
Thank you so much for your time and your insights, and have a great day. David Williams, Managing Director at Kidder.